Welcome to English Mirror. Hope you all are busy preparing for UGC Nta NET September 2020. Here are the next bunch of expected questions. Let's have a look. Little Nell is a character in Dickens. Answer is option D. The Old Curiosity Shop. The Old Curiosity Shop is one of two novels which Charles Dickens published along with short stories in his weekly serial Master Humphrey's Clock from 1840 to 1841. It was so popular that New York readers stormed the wharf when the ship bearing the final installment arrived in 1841. The Old Curiosity Shop was printed in book form in 1841. Who among the following Indian writers in English has created an identifiable imagined locale? Answer is option C. R.K. Narayan. Malgudi is the imagined locale created by R.K. Narayan. Malgudi is a fictional town located in South India in the novels and short stories of R.K. Narayan. It forms the settings for most of Narayan's works, starting with his first novel, Swami and Friends, published in 1935. All but one of his 50 novels and most of his short stories take place here. Malgudi was a potmatch of two Bangalore localities, Malleshwaram and Basavanagudi. Who among the following is not a formalist critic? Answer is option C. Stanley Fish. Stanley Fish, an American literary theorist, is a critic associated with reader response theory. Stanley Fish is an American literary theorist, legal scholar, author, and public intellectual. Remember, Fish has previously served as a Davidson Kahn Distinguished University Professor of Humanities and a Professor of Law at Florida International University and is Dean Emeritus of the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences at the University of Illinois at Chicago. The rhyme scheme of the Spenserian sonnet is answer is option A. AB, BC, BC, CD, CD, EE. Petrarchan sonnet ABBA, ABBA, CDE, CDE or ABBA, ABBA, CDC, DCD. And the Shakespearean sonnet ABAB, CDCD, EF, EF, GG. Who among the following Marlowean characters is consumed by greed? Answer is option A. Barabbas. Barabbas, the Jew of Malta, is consumed by greed. The Jew of Malta is a play by Christopher Marlowe written in 1589 or 1590. The plot primarily revolves around a Maltese Jewish merchant named Barabbas. The original story combines religious conflict, intrigue, and revenge, set against a backdrop of the struggle for supremacy between Spain and the Ottoman Empire in the Mediterranean that take place on the island of Malta. The plan of Arthurian stories has influenced the composition of Tennyson's answer is option B. Idylls. The Idylls of the King, published between 1859 and 1885, is a cycle of 12 narrative poems by the English poet Alfred Lord Tennyson, which retells the legend of King Arthur, his knights, and the rise and fall of Arthur's kingdom. The whole work recounts Arthur's attempt and failure to lift up mankind and create a perfect kingdom from his coming to power to his death at the hands of the traitor Mordred. The future of poetry is immense because in poetry, a race as time goes on will find an ever surer and surer stay. This claim for poetry is made in answer is option A. Arnold's The Study of Poetry. A Study of Poetry is a critical essay by Matthew Arnold. In this essay, Arnold criticizes the art of poetry as well as the art of criticism. Arnold believes that the art of poetry is capable of high destinies. It is an art in which the idea itself is the fact. He says that we should understand the worth of poetry as it is poetry that shows us mirror of life. Science, according to Arnold, is incomplete without poetry, and religion and philosophy will give way to poetry. Arnold terms poetry as a criticism of life, thereby refuting the accusation of Plato, and says that as time goes on, man will continue to find comfort and solace in poetry. Which of the following is not about a dystopia? Answer is option D. R.M. Ballantyne's The Coral Island. The Coral Island, A Tale of the Pacific Ocean, published in 1857, is a novel written by Scottish author R.M. Ballantyne, one of the first works of juvenile fiction to feature exclusively juvenile heroes. The story relates the adventures of three boys marooned on a South Pacific island, the only survivors of a shipwreck. Who among the following is not associated with the translation of the Bible? Answer is option D. Thomas Brown. Sir Thomas Browne was an English polymath and author of varied works which reveal his wide learning in diverse fields including science and medicine, religion, and the esoteric. His writings display a deep curiosity towards the natural world influenced by the scientific revolution of Baconian inquiry. The term curtal sonnet was coined by answer is option C. Gerald Manley Hopkins. Curtal sonnet is an 11 line or more accurately 10 and a half line sonnet, but rather than the first 11 lines of a standard sonnet, it consists of precisely 3 by 4 of the structure of a Petrarchan sonnet shrunk proportionally. The octave of a sonnet becomes a sestet and the sestet a quatrain plus an additional tailpiece. That is, the first 8 lines of a sonnet are translated into the first 6 lines of a curtal sonnet, and the last 6 lines of a sonnet are translated into the last 4 and a half lines of a curtal sonnet. The author of the pamphlet Short View of Immorality and Profaneness of the English Stage, published in 1698, was answer is option B. Jeremy Collier. In March 1698, Jeremy Collier published his anti-theatre pamphlet, A Short View of the Immorality and Profaneness of the English Stage. In the pamphlet, Collier attacks a number of playwrights such as William Wycherley, John Dryden, William Congreve, John Vanbrugh, and Thomas Durfee. Collier attacks rather recent, rather popular comedies from the London stage. He accuses the playwrights of profanity, blasphemy, indecency, and undermining public morality through the sympathetic depiction of vice. Identify a play in the following list that is not written by Oscar Wilde. Answer is Saints and Sinners. Option C. Saints and Sinners is a play on modern middle-class life by Henry Arthur Jones. Henry Arthur Jones was an English dramatist. Thomas Keats' The Spanish Tragedy was influenced by answer is option A. Seneca. The Spanish Tragedy, or Hieronymo is Mad Again, is an English tragedy written by Thomas Keats between 1582 and 1592. Highly popular and influential in its time, the Spanish tragedy established a new genre in English theatre, the revenge play or revenge tragedy. The play contains several violent murders and includes, as one of its characters, a personification of revenge. The Spanish tragedy is often considered to be the first mature Elizabethan drama, a claim disputed with Christopher Marlowe's Tamburlaine, and has been parodied by many Elizabethan and Jacobean playwrights, including Marlowe, William Shakespeare, and Ben Jonson. In its final published version, Eliot's The Wasteland contains a total of, answer is option B, 433 lines. And remember, final version of The Wasteland is 434 lines actually. The Wasteland is a poem by T.S. Eliot, widely regarded as one of the most important poems of the 20th century and a central work of modernist poetry, published in 1922. The 434-line poem first appeared in the United Kingdom in the October issue of Eliot's The Criterion and in the United States in the November issue of The Dial. It was published in book form in December 1922. Among its famous phrases are April is the cruelest month, I will show you fear in a handful of dust, and the mantra in the Sanskrit language, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Jean Rice's White Sargasso Sea is set in, answer is option C, the Caribbean. White Sargasso Sea is a 1966 novel by Dominica-born British author Jean Rice. It is a feminist and anti-colonial response to Charlotte Bronte's novel Jane Eyre, published in 1847, describing the background to Mr. Rochester's marriage from the point of view of his mad wife. Hamlet, lying wounded, says to his friend Horatio, I am dead. This is an example of, answer is option C, prolepsis. Prolepsis is a figure of speech in which the speaker raises an objection to their own argument and then immediately answers it. By doing so, they help to strengthen their argument by dealing with possible counter-arguments before their audience can raise them. The Castle of Otranto is an example of, answer is option A, Gothic fiction. The Castle of Otranto is a book by Horace Walpole, first published in 1764 and generally regarded as the first Gothic novel. In the second edition, Walpole applied the word Gothic to the novel in the subtitle, A Gothic Story. The novel merged medievalism and terror in a style that has endured ever since. The aesthetic of the book has shaped modern-day Gothic books, films, art, music, and Goth subculture. The City of Dreadful Night, a long poem depicting the late Victorian sense of gloom and despondency, is written by, answer is option C, James Thomson. The City of Dreadful Night is a long poem by Scottish poet James Thomson, written between 1870 and 1873, and published in the National Reformer in 1874, then in 1880 in a book entitled The City of Dreadful Night and Other Poems. The poem is noted for the pessimistic philosophy that it expresses. It has been argued that the city described in the poem is based on London. Which of the following novels by V.S. Naipaul is set in Africa and carries echoes of Joseph Conrad? Answer is option B, A Bend in the River. The novel, telling the story of Salim, a merchant in post-colonial mid-20th century Africa, is one of Naipaul's best-known works and was widely praised. Remember, A Bend in the River has also been criticized for a perceived defense of European colonialism in Africa. In The Rape of the Lock, Belinda's lapdog is named. Answer is option B, Shock. The Rape of the Lock is a mock heroic narrative poem written by Alexander Pope. One of the most commonly cited examples of high burlesque, it was first published anonymously in Lintott's Miscellaneous Poems and Translations in 2 cantos. A revised edition written by Mr. Pope followed in March 1714 as a 5-canto version accompanied by 6 engravings. Pope boasted that this sold more than 3,000 copies in its first 4 days. The final form of the poem appeared in 1717 with the addition of Clarissa's speech on good humor, The poem was much translated and contributed to the growing popularity of mock heroic in Europe. Thank you for watching this video. If you like the video, please share and subscribe.